Good evening. I'm Allison, and this is Allison Knows Special Edition. Tonight, we're continuing our special series examining the figures who operate in the shadows of power, the connectors, the facilitators, the people who build the pipelines through which influence flows in our political system. And tonight's subject is a fascinating one, a man who managed to build a career connecting three worlds that don't typically intersect: the modeling industry, high-end real estate, and international diplomacy. His name is Paolo Zampolli, and you've never heard of him. That's by design. But his fingerprints are all over some of the most consequential relationships in American politics today. He describes himself as a connector, someone who connects people with people, people with opportunities, people with ideas. But what exactly does that mean? And why should we care about these connections? Well, as we'll see tonight, when you follow Paolo Zampoli's career, you start to understand how certain pipelines of influence is built, and pipelines that have shaped our current political reality in profound ways. Come along, let's begin. In the 1990s, Paolo Zampolli founded a modeling agency called ID Models in New York City. But this wasn't just any modeling agency. ID Models specialized in recruiting young women from Eastern Europe, particularly at a time when the fall of the Soviet Union had created economic desperation across the region. Young women were eager for opportunities in the West, and Zampoli's agency was there to provide them. The agency operated offices in New York, Milan, and Brazil, but its real specialty was scouting, finding young women in emerging markets and bringing them to the United States. Now, I want to be clear about something important here. The modeling industry in the 1990s operated with minimal regulation. Young women were routinely brought to the United States on questionable visa agreements and housed in agency-controlled apartments. This was standard practice at the time. What made ID Models distinctive was its focus on continuing and connecting these models to wealthy businessmen through lavish parties and events at exclusive New York venues. Look at this radar chart showing ID Models' business focus. Notice how Eastern European models and party housing rank at the top of their priorities, followed closely by elite connections and political access. This wasn't just a modeling agency. It was a sophisticated operation designed to create social connections between beautiful young women and wealthy, powerful men. And one of those models would change the course of American history. In 1998, Paolo Zampolli introduced one of his models to a wealthy real estate developer at a party during New York Fashion Week. The model was Melania Nos from Slovenia. The developer was Donald Trump. Zampolli arranged this meeting at the Kit Kat Club, and the rest, as they say, is history. Trump and Melania would eventually marry in 2005, and Zampolli would attend their wedding as the man who made it all happen. Excuse me. But Zampoli's connection to Trump wasn't just about introducing him to his future wife. Zampolli maintained an office in Trump Tower for years. He developed real estate projects with the Trump Organization. He was, by all accounts, part of Trump's inner circle. And when Trump was elected president in 2016, something interesting happened. Zampolli suddenly became a diplomat. Look at this timeline. In 1998, he introduces Trump to Melania. By 2016, after Trump's election, Zampolli secures an appointment to a United Nations ambassadorship. By 2017, he has regular access to the White House and Mar-a-Lago. The strength of their relationship has remained remarkably consistent over the decades. As you can see from this chart, it is the spike after 2016 that should really catch your attention, because that's when Zampoli's role as a connector took on an entirely new dimension. In 2017, shortly after Trump's election, Paolo Zampolli became the ambassador for Dominica to the United States. Now, a few things about this appointment should raise eyebrows. First, Zampolli had no prior diplomatic experience, none. Second, he had no known connection to Dominica before his appointment. He didn't live there, he wasn't born there, he had no family ties there. Third, he continued to operate his businesses in New York while serving as a diplomat, maintaining his residence in Manhattan rather than Dominica. So why would someone become a diplomat for a country they have no connection to? Well, the benefits are substantial. As the radar chart shows, diplomatic immunity ranks at the top of the benefits. This provides legal protection that shields Zampolli from prosecution. Tax advantages are significant too. So is visa facilitation, the ability to help people travel internationally with fewer restrictions. But perhaps most importantly, the position provides enhanced status and access to the United Nations headquarters and events. It's worth noting that Zampolli's diplomatic activities focused primarily on ocean conservation initiatives, a worthy cause certainly, but his participation in core UN functions is limited. The position appears to be used primarily for networking and business. This unusual arrangement, a modeling agent turned real estate developer turned diplomat with no prior connection to the country he represents, is precisely the kind of pipeline we need to examine more closely. After closing ID models in the early 2000s, Zampolli founded Metropolitan Luxury Properties in 2004. This real estate firm specialized in high-end Manhattan properties with a particular focus on foreign buyers seeking luxury homes. Zampolli collaborated with the Trump Organization on multiple projects and maintained that office in Trump Towers for years. His specialty became connecting foreign investors to U.S. luxury properties. His portfolio expanded to include properties in New York, Miami, and the Caribbean, and he specialized in serving diplomatic and foreign national clients, a natural extension of his modeling industry connections and, later, his diplomatic status. What's particularly interesting about Zampolli's real estate business is its client network. He catered to ultra-high net worth individuals, specializing in discretion and privacy, and continued to connect models to luxury housing opportunities. Look at this radar chart showing Metropolitan Luxury Properties focus areas, private services, political connections, ranked at the very top, followed by luxury properties and diplomatic access. This isn't just a real estate business, it's a network platform that allows Zampolli to connect powerful figures across business, politics, and entertainment. And this now brings us to his most important role, the network builder. What makes Paolo Zampolli truly significant isn't his modeling agency, his real estate business, or even his diplomatic status. It's how he combines all three to operate as what I call a pipeline builder. Zampolli facilitates introductions between models, businessmen, and politicians. He operates across social, business, diplomatic circles. And he leverages his modeling industry connections for business and political access. His global reach is impressive. His connections span Eastern Europe, the United States, the Caribbean, the Middle East. He maintains residences in New York, Miami, and the Caribbean. And he uses his UN diplomatic status for international access. As a deal facilitator, he brokers real estate deals between international investors, arranges introductions for business opportunities, and specializes in connecting wealthy foreigners to U.S. opportunities. Perhaps most importantly, he provides access to Trump and other political figures, to diplomatic connections through his UN credentials, and to exclusive events where elites can mingle privately. Look at this radar chart showing Zampolli's sphere of influence. Modeling industry and elite social events rank at the top, followed closely by Trump's circle and international business. Zampolli operates as a key node in a network connecting models, real estate, politics, and diplomacy, creating pathways between worlds that typically don't intersect. And that's why understanding figures like Zampolli is so important, because they show us how influence actually flows in our system, not through the formal channels we learn about in civics class, but through these informal networks of connection. Following the pipeline. Following the pipeline. So what do we do with this information? How do we respond to the Paolos and Paulis of the world? Well, first, we need to recognize that Zampolli's connections, three worlds, modeling, business, and politics. This isn't just about one man, it's about understanding how these pipelines of influence operates. Second, we need to follow the connections. We need to examine the flow of people, money, and influence through these networks. Who benefits? Who pays the price? Third, we need to question diplomatic status that appears to exist primarily to shield business activities. The purpose of diplomatic immunity is to protect diplomats doing diplomatic work, not to provide legal coverage for private business dealings. And finally, we need to demand transparency. We need disclosure of conflicts between UN roles and business interests. We need to know who's really pulling the strings, because when one person serves as a pipeline between modeling agencies, business interests, and political power, we must ask who benefits from these connections and at what cost. That's our show for tonight. Join us next time for our special episode on USA Vance, the transformation. I am Allison. This is Allison Knows. Good night.